So good morning again. My name is Jeremiah Best. I'm the agriculture educator, classroom educator for New York Agriculture and Classroom. Thank you for joining the Top Cut Beef Contest. The contest is a partnership between our organization and the New York Beef Council to just highlight the importance of beef as a commodity, not just in New York State, but across our country. It is one of the main proteins that many of us eat from day to day. We are very happy to have the Weaning brothers, Peter and John, join us today. We have myself and Ms. Sarah Peavy from New York Agriculture in the Classroom running our technology, and Ms. Catherine Stager, who is with the New York Beef Council working on the ground. So we do have our brothers. They are in Monroe County, and they have their beef farm that they started in 2015. And we're going to start by allowing them to introduce themselves and share who they are, share about their farm and how they got started. And then we're going to have them share about the beef life cycle. So Peter and John, thank you for joining us. Good morning. The farm looks beautiful. What an amazing day. We've already heard quite a few animals out there. Please tell us about your farm. How'd you get started? Is this a childhood thing that you always wanted? And take us down the path of Weaning Farms.
Hey, sure. Good morning. Hey, well, thanks for joining us. It's a glorious morning. We got the fall foliage behind us and a few of our cattle standing next to us. Again, I'm Peter Lamb. This is my brother, John. I get to do the talking today. So yeah, we grew up on a very small hobby farm up in Orleans County in Holly, New York with our dad. Our dad had a dairy farm when he was a kid and he went into the banking world, but we always had, we were 4-H'ers. We raised beef cows and sheep and vegetables and chickens and everything else. And something we always wanted to, carry on as we got older. We both went on to college. We both did ROTC and we joined the military. John was in the Air Force for over 24 years. He was Air Force pilot, flew his entire career, ended up in a command position down in New Jersey when he retired. And now he works for the airlines when the airlines are flying. That's why he has the beard today. I went to college also. I joined the Army, the smarter of the two brothers, and we went on for, I served for 25 years, and so did my wife, actually. I flew helicopters, and I went into healthcare management, healthcare leadership, and left as a command position out of Texas. We both moved back here. John moved back here 8 years ago, and I came back 5. And when I moved back here in 2015, we said we really wanted to start a business together. So we actually met with Cooperative Extension, did some of the groundwork, set up a partnership. Actually, our wives are technically partners also, and they actually do help quite a bit. And then we started our farm in 2015, and we've slowly been growing. We started with 4 cow calves. We bought them over south of Syracuse. We've added to our herd since then, buying from Wean farms over in the Auburn area. And we've slowly grown it up until we're about 20 to 25 cows, depending on what day it is and what we're going with. And so that's where we started here. And so we're, again, Southern Monroe County. We have the small herd, but we have to split it between 3 different properties just because of where we live and best use of our land. So I live about 3 miles away. We're on John's property today. And then directly behind Catherine, about a quarter mile, we have the rest of our herd. So we're split in 3 different locations. And so that's the setup of our herd. So we are a cow-calf operation. So you'll see these guys right here. We have three cows with their 3 baby calves, and we have 2 heifers out there. We raise Red Angus mainly. We've had a few Herefords over the years, but we do run it as a business. So that's the other thing you got to remember. A farm is a business. So I do mainly the finances. We split the chores. John handles the vet and the AI type coordination, and that's where we do it. So you see these little guys will start looking at you. They're kind of curious what we're doing, but they don't know Catherine, so they're a little bit afraid. But they'll watch us and kind of stand around us here. But again, we are a cow-calf operation, and so that really means our cows are born here. They live their entire life here, and they'll go from there. So some of our older cows, the one in the back is about 6 years old. The one up front is about 3 years old, and the one behind Catherine is also about 3. The calves you see are only a month old, and then there's 2 smaller ones. They're 2 heifers. That's 82. She's very interested in what you're doing. We have 2 heifers out here, and we'll talk about them as we go. Once you leave our site, you know, a cow calf keeps them forever, but there's some people that just grow them. Then they'll go to an auction. There's multiple auction houses across New York State. The closest to one is Finger Lakes Auction over in Canandaigua. So they'll bring cows over there up to about a year old, and they'll sell them off for various different reasons. And that's one way. I will back up to weaning also. It's 6 to 8 months. Our calves stay on the moms. Beef cows are very maternal, so our calves stay with their moms their entire life. At about 6 to 8 months, we will wean them, and we'll talk about that in a few minutes on using a weaning ring. After auction, let them go ahead.
Before we go any further, if any classrooms have any questions, you please feel free to put them in the chat. We will take a pause between areas that we go on the farm to allow you to ask those questions live. But if you have a burning question, go ahead, put it in the chat, and we will definitely send that out to Peter and John.
Okay. Yeah, please. Any questions are great. It helps us kind of go along. So again, if you talk cow calves, so again, our calves are born here, they live here, but many businesses, you'll have a calf, you'll wean it about 6 to 8 months, and then within the first year, they'll go off to an auction. They'll go to a feeder or a stocker or a backgrounder where they raise them again, try and get them to a larger, heavier weight. Again, up to about a year and a half. Some people use feedlots. There are some feedlots in New York, and they're much larger, bigger ones in the Midwest where you think about beef cows. There again, they're from up to 6 months. They'll be on grain and silage and grass, and from there, they'll head off to a processing plant, USDA certified, and we'll talk about that a little bit later also. The calf nursing right here.
I do have a question from Kenny at St. John's School in Alden. They want to know, how long do you keep the adults on the farm?
So we've been in business for 5 years. We have not lost any moms yet. So we keep them. They'll keep to about age 12. Beef cows and the beef moms. The cows that go to market to produce beef, we'll send them to market at about 18 months is our goal. And again, we'll talk about different types of finishing, and everybody's a little bit different. So the adult moms will live their entire life up to about 12 years of age, and that's usually when we can keep breeding them, and they're great moms as long as they keep their health up. And again, we use vets to make sure their health was maintained.
You did mention weaning a couple times. Can you explain what that means? I know that's an important vocabulary term for beef farmers.
Yeah, so weaning is what we do is the calves will stay on the moms their entire life if they wanted to. So what we do is at about 6 to 8 months, we wean them. And what that does is it prevents the baby from nursing on the mom. And it allows the mom to recover, gain some weight. It allows us to rebreed the mom if we're going to go for the next year. And there's 3 ways you can wean or take a calf off. So one way is you physically remove the calf, put it in a whole different pasture, you move it away. It's a little traumatic sometimes, but it works as humans come off their moms. And that's one way to separate. The second one is they call it fence line weaning, where we actually put a fence, a woven wire fence, and we'll put the calves on one side, the mom on the other. And again, they can sniff through the fence, but they can't nurse. And after a few weeks, the mom's milk dries up, and you can put them back together. The third option we use is a flapper ring or a nose ring. This goes right in the nostril. We put them in warm water so they're more pliable. It'll sit in the nostril, and then when the baby sits in his nose, when he tries to nurse, it'll hit the teat, and he can't get his tongue around to nurse anymore. This is our preferred method. It allows the baby to stay with their mom. They're still sleeping, still touching, still walking, still feeding. They just can't nurse.
Now
go ahead.
We have another question from Brandon at St. John's School in Alden. And he wants to know what silage is. And I think that's a great segue into pasturing. While you're heading over to the pasture and discussing pasturing, you mentioned Cal 84. How do you know that's Cal 84?
Yeah, well,
how can you tell them apart?
So what we do is we tag our cows. So if you'll see, we name some, but this is Hermione, I know her name, but her number is 87. So what we do is when they're a few months old, you can do it as soon as it birth. My brother and I actually wait until we wean and we tag. You put a tag in their ear, and that allows us, You can imagine our herd is small, we can know them, but if there was 60, 70 cows out here, you want to use that tag to identify which animal it is. We keep good records of any shots that are given, any health issues, breeding, all that stuff, and that's what an ear tag is for. And so that's what we use those for. So we know them by sight, who they are. My brother's feeding them some beets there. So that's what ear tag. Silage, I don't use silage, so I will not pretend to be an expert. But as you're talking about feeding cattle, we feed them vegetables. They have all the grass they want. But silage is usually either corn silage is where they actually go out and they will harvest corn stalks in full. They'll chop it up and you'll see these huge bags or big covered areas outside of farms, and they use silage to feed their animals that way. What we do here is we feed, we're a grass operation. So as Catherine can show you around, and we do rotational grazing. My brother's farm here, we have 6 paddocks for about these, 7 cows, and it works well. So behind Catherine, this area over here is a paddock across there, and we'll put them in there for anywhere from 4 to 5 days. They just came off this. We've had a little bit of a dry spring, so our grass is not as lush as we would like it. And then to my right, there's another paddock in the back area over here, and it kind of rotates around. Again, there's 6 paddocks here. We will rotate them every few days. And the idea is multifold. One, the grass has a time to recover and grow. And so we get fresh grass. And so when the cows go on it, they get the best grass. And we're hoping for about 21 to 25 days before we get back on the same paddock. Second is manure management. The cows don't congregate under the same tree and use the bathroom the same area. It's spread out. That helps with fly control. And also by rotationally grazing, the cows will eat more of everything that's in the field. And as we do that, and we'll come behind them and mow, usually in June and July, we'll mow the fields because a lot of weeds will come up that the cows don't like. And by keeping the weeds under control, they don't reseed. And every year our pasture gets better and better and better. And then we will keep them on grass as long as we can, usually about the middle of November. And then we switch over, we feed all hay, and we buy hay locally. It comes in small bales, maybe 40 to 50 pounds, but also the hay we started using is like 600-pound bales, 700-pound bales. They're giant squares, giant rounds that we will put in a field, and we have a feeder that goes around so the cows can't sleep on it and walk on it, and they can put their heads in the side and they'll eat that. And in the winter, we'll have about 22 cows, and a big 700-pound bale will last about 2 days, and they'll eat it right up. So it's a constant process, but we need a tractor to do that. That's our feed cycle.
With allowing your cows to rotational graze and they're able to spread manure around your fields, are you saying that that's beneficial? What is that doing for your fields?
It's very beneficial, especially when we feed hay, because all you're doing is you're bringing in more organic matter, more soil amendments. They'll bring that in every single year. And so by spreading out the manure, it's basically fertilizing your fields. And then cows also have big hooves, and they'll walk and they'll actually kind of puncture the ground. It's almost like aerating your lawn. It aerates the soil and it mixes things in. So we just found that is extremely beneficial to our soil and to the productivity. They'll say if you can divide it, a large field into 4, you can get about 40% more browse because the grass has a time to recover. I joke, my brother loves shrimp. If we go to a buffet, my brother will just eat all the shrimp. But if the shrimp goes away, he'll have to eat something else. And so same with our cows. There's certain grasses they love. By moving them, they'll have to eat different foods, and the fields are evenly grazed instead of having one spot overly grazed. So that is beneficial. Go ahead.
Since you've started to have cattle on your property, have you seen the land increase in health or?
Definitely. So a lot of these fields, this area was a horse farm at one time, and horse eat differently than cows. Cows use their tongue. If they'll eat here in a minute, we'll see. They use their tongue and they'll actually rip it. Oh, I thought she'd do it for us, but they grab their tongue, they'll take grass and they rip it almost like you're mowing your lawn, and that's why it's not bare. Whereas they only have teeth on one side, so they're not biting it and ripping the grass. Horses tend to nip at the grass real low, and they'll take that out. So our property has definitely improved. Across the street, we took an old soybean field that had been farmed every year for about 20 years straight and had some erosion issues. We reseeded it over 2 years, and tremendous growth has come back. We're on the third year, and it's amazing how fast the natural grasses come in, the clovers, the orchard grasses, everything come back. And so the soil has gotten better, no erosion, and it's worked very well for us. Same on my property. So again, that's how it works out really well for us. The other thing I want to just touch on is I work part-time for a vegetable farmer. And after we have harvested the vegetables, and he actually donates to a food bank, sells them, whatever's left or the culls, things that people won't eat, we feed our cows. Our cows love pumpkins, they love old apples, they love tomatoes, beets, Brussels sprouts, carrots, anything you can feed them, they are quite happy. In fact, when I pull in with my truck, they'll usually come running to the truck because they think they're getting fresh vegetables a couple times a week. And so that's worked out very well for us.
And do you have any of that feed there on hand that we can see?
Yep, we're grabbing some grain right now. My brother will bring that over to you. And so what we do is, before we take them to market, there's 3 ways to finish cattle. You can send them, they can go to a feedlot, you can put them on a heavy grain silage, so they're always having grass and hay. At the same token, you can do grass-fed, which is very popular, and that they only eat grass their entire life, even to finish them. And then at the very end, we do grain and grass. And so the grain is a mixture, hey, John, a mixture of soybeans and corn, and it's just ground up into a mash almost, but it's dry. And so we will take this, and if they knew it was here, in fact, 82 does, they love it. These guys don't get grain because they're not going to market. So our cows are grass-fed, and then the last 60 days to 90 days, we will feed grain. Our customers like that because it adds a little more fat, a little more protein, a little more marbling to the meat, and it changes the flavor a little bit.
So
that's our preference.
If we took a big old bowl of that this morning at our cafeteria table, would we be able to process that? Why are they able to eat grass and grains and things like that? Could we eat that?
You can eat some of the grains, it's corn and it's soybean, which we all eat, but they process in a different way. They have 4 stomachs, so they have a rumen, so they process the food. They'll eat the grass, it comes back up into their mouth, they'll chew it again, they'll put it back down, and it processes through their body. We call cattle great upcyclers because they'll eat things and take things that we can't eat, like just eating grass and legumes that we can't eat, and they'll turn it into beef. And so that's one of the things. Same with like the old vegetables like beet tops that we don't eat as humans. They love them. Rotten apples, all the grass. Cattle turn that into feed. So a lot of this property we own, like John's area, would not be the best farmland. It's a little bit rocky. Mine is terribly rocky. So the best use of my property definitely is grazing cattle. You can't plow it. You could not grow crops. So there is no other real farming use. Maybe put greenhouses on it, but we use it for cattle, and it works out great. So again, cows to me are great upcyclers. They'll take things we can't eat and turn them into beef and be productive with them. And they definitely like grain, as you can see.
You mentioned giving them hay in the winter. So we would imagine that you bring them inside and put scarves around their necks and have a warm, heated bedroom for them. What do you do with them in winter? Why does their diet change? Do they like the winter?
So what they will do is, so we've actually had people ask that if we bring them inside all winter. No, we do not. So they'll all move to my property in the winter, which is about 3 miles just north of here. I have a barn, I have a wooded area, and some large hedgerows. The cattle will grow, as you can see, John, right there. They'll get a little bit of a thicker fur on them. She's starting to slowly get her winter coat. Yeah, so you start to get thicker hair. In the summer, like the cow to this one here, you can see how it's a very slick, shiny coat, where hers is a little more woolly on the left. She's like in her grain. So what happens is they'll get a nice thick coat on them, and they'll stay outside. I'll open my barn up, but we feed them outside. We move it around again for manure management in the winter. And then 2, our cows actually love being outdoors. We'll have the barn open and we'll go outside, and they'll be sleeping in the woods. The biggest thing for cattle is to try and keep them dry. And that's not snow, but that's like a freezing rain is really bad. But if you can keep them dry and out of the wind. So they'll sit in the woods, and it's kind of like your house. You can go out in the morning after a snowstorm, and they'll actually have an inch of snow on their back. They are quite happy. It's kind of like your house. They have tremendous insulation, And so that snow is not melting on their back, which actually means they're retaining all their heat. The other thing with rumens, these guys, when they eat, and we'll actually feed them later in the evening. If it's bitterly cold, we'll actually give them some extra hay or some better quality hay late at night. Because what they do is they process it at night. And when they're actually processing that hay, they're producing tremendous amounts of energy. That energy turns into heat, and the heat just keeps them warm. So yes, they have barn access. The biggest thing again is to keep them out of the wind and keep them dry. So again, we have a freezing rainstorm and stuff. We'll actually try and herd them into the barn to put them in there, but they are quite happy being outside, and it's very healthy for them too. Respiratory issues, they're not, in a small confined area, breathing on each other. Packed in. They like being outside. They'll sleep next to each other, and just, but they're very social, very herd animals. But they prefer to be, again, outside in the winter.
So we're going to go ahead and shift over to the chute. So we have these huge beasts, these huge animals, mammals that if we needed to, and we have a great question, another great question from St. John's, and we'll get to that in a minute. We have to check them out. And one of the questions was, do cows pass along sickness to each other? And that's a great question for you and I. If we got sick, we would go to the doctor's office and neatly sit on the table when we were asked to sit on the table, and go down the hall just like we were asked to go down the hall and step on the scale. But cows don't do that, I don't think, Peter. So how do you handle cows? How do you get them to a place where you can check them out if they're sick or for their health? Also, before we get into that, can you quickly just tell us how beef and dairy cows are different?
Yeah, so the same, it's like humans are different. So beef cows, you'll notice they'll put their energy into becoming more thicker, broader. They're a much more stockier animal. They are good milk cows, but they don't produce the volumes of milk that a dairy cow does. A dairy cow has a different genetics. They are a little bit skinnier, but they're supposed to be skinny on purpose. They put their energy more into milk production and the way they're milked. Dairy cows still produce beef. So a lot of the beef we eat is from dairy cows, and dairy cows produce excellent beef. These cows are grown more genetically toward the beef. So in my mind, you're going to get larger ribeyes, larger sirloins, and a larger quantity of beef off a beef cow. So again, they put their energy into mass and size, and you can see that you really can't see their ribs. They're quite large animals. Whereas a dairy cow, you'll see the ribs, they'll be skinnier, but their energy is produced or is put into milk production.
So I think you mentioned something that was very interesting, is that you have two different genetic strands. So although they're both cows,
right,
they have been genetically chosen, one to produce more meat and one to produce milk. So as you're getting your cows over to the chute and you want to check them out to check out that health and how well you've added that weight, you bring them over to what? Where are you bringing them to check them out?
So we have yeah, okay. Before I should have started at the very beginning. One asked the question I just had pop up here. These are red Angus. So you've heard about Angus beef. So certified Angus beef is technically black Angus, and they would all be black. Red are just a different gene. It's the same cow, but it's a red. But so our cows are all red. We breed them to red Angus, and it keeps the red color going. There's multiple, there's Herefords, there's Galloways, there's Scottish Highlanders, there's Black Angus, Red Angus. Those are all beef breeds. On the other side, you have dairy breeds of like Holsteins, which are black and whites. You see a lot of Jerseys, which are a little bit smaller, have great butter fat. And so again, there's multiple breeds and of cows. We chose the Red Angus. One, as our friend Aaron Hall said, they're pretty in the pasture, and we definitely agree with that. We love the demeanor. We had Red Angus, or correction, Black Angus growing up, and they were a little bit wilder. As you noticed by us walking around, our Red Angus are calmer. They're great mothers. They're great maternal instincts. And that's why we chose this breed. I should say also, another question earlier was, when a cow has a calf, these calves you see over here that are off by themselves, they're 1 month old. The amazing thing about beef cows with the maternal instinct they're once they're born, they're up within 15 minutes, if not quicker. They're milking right away. The mom literally licks them clean, and within a day or two, we can't catch them. They're kind of wild and they're going. So beef cows are very maternalistic. They take care of their calves great. They're great mothers, and they have very hardy calves. We try to have our calves born in spring and fall. Um, you can have them born in the winter, but we prefer spring and fall just because it's ideal weather. It's lush grass. It's great time for the mom to be eating and everything else. Um, the other thing I'm going to point out real quick, we walked right by it. In the blue is a mineral feeder, as we do with humans. And I've got some mineral over here I can show you. Supplements, right? So humans we take vitamins and everything else. So cattle, they need minerals that are not necessarily in the grass or the feed they get, or our cows just on grass. So we provide mineral, and that has things like selenium and potassium and salt and other things that a cow needs just for a healthy body. We call it free range because we put it in there, and they eat it as they want it. They know what they need, and they'll eat as much as they want, and we just keep it filled, and we just move it from paddock to paddock and follow them as we go.
So for our viewers out there, if you look on the side of your cereal box, what you see those cows added to those buckets, you'll see those same ingredients, many of those same ingredients on your cereal box. Just like we need to eat a balanced diet, our animals and farm animals and agriculture, we need to provide those for our animals too, to make sure they're healthy. So Cole asked a great question from St. John's. Do cows pass along sickness to each other? If so, how are they treated? And if I have a sick cow or I want to check out a cow, what do I do, Peter?
Yeah, that's a great question. So yes, so cows do pass on like humans, right? If you catch a cold in your house and you're living with your entire family and you're coughing and sneezing, odds are someone else in the family is going to get it. We have the same issue here. We have pretty much a closed herd, which means we don't bring in a lot of other cattle from other places and ship out and ship in. So the cows live here. They'll come together in the winter, but it's the same herd. So what we do here is we have a veterinary services. So we use a vet. We started right off, even before we had our first, actually we had our first cows. We invited the vet out the next week to meet. You build a relationship. It's kind of like going to your primary care doctor. You want to build a relationship. The doctor knows you, you know the doctor. Same with a vet. So we have a vet on call. It's a whole service down in Perry, but we have one vet that we work with mainly. And so what we do, if even for shots or putting the ear tags in, and want to check the health, check their feet, whatever we're doing, you use a chute system and a handling system. A lady named Temple Grant in Midwest is a great program and a great spokesman for beef cattle handling. One of the keys is, if you notice, our cows are calm and smooth. We try and operate very quietly, very calmly. It's not a lot of yelling and hoop and hollering when we move them. If we just literally walk behind them and there's pressure points, you can get a cow to walk the way you want. So what we do is we have built a system on each piece of property, and to handle our cows in a safe manner. One, it's safe for the cow, right? Because they're in a confined area. They can't kick and butt. They can't hurt themselves. There's no sharp edges. At the same token, for us, so when we were kids, we joke, the chute when we were a kid was we put a halter on a cow in an old dairy barn, and we tie it around a post, and my dad and my brother and I would pin it against the wall, and the vet would do their business. Not a good way to do it. So we learned right away we're going to build something. Yeah, so the cows are huge. So we built here is a system. So it's kind of, you kind of herd them in. They come around, we bring them into this area here. There's a gate over here, and we'll lock them in this area. So we can put, up to 20 cows in here, whatever we have to. It's just a confined area with high fence. They can't jump over it. It's safe. And then what we do is we'll push them into where my brother is right here. Like a crowding tub. This chute swings behind them. We made it so it's real tight. You just keep pushing a cow through, and they'll slowly walk. You got to take your time with them. They'll come down this area, and you'll notice here, it's even wider right here. And so it kind of narrows in. We'll put a post behind them so they can't back up. It sounds simple, but that's really all you do. They can't back up, and they'll come down this. We can put 2 cows in here at once. And if you look inside, it's tapered. So it's a little bit narrow at the bottom. And then, so a cow's feet are narrow, obviously, and you can see by their girth, they're a little wider, so they can fit in here, but they can't turn around. It's a challenge with a calf because they can, but the big moms will come right down through here. They'll come down. And so this is a squeeze chute. It's a little bit, you don't have to go all the way. There's some real basic ones, but we went all in after our experience as kids. So this opens up in the back, and what we'll do is we'll encourage the cow to go in, or my brother, which is the same. In the front, yeah, I'll try to say. And then this is a head gate. So a cow will put, don't put your head in there. I don't. So the head gate, they'll put their, you'll close it up just a little bit. And as the cow walks in, we'll close it. And whatever width the cow is, it'll stop on their head. It doesn't pinch them. It's going to close now because there's nothing holding it. And the cow's head will be right here. The nice thing about this is they're in a confined area. And then if the vet comes, if we have to work, if we want to check out the side of them, the sides open up, we can get access here. If we want to check their feet, this panel comes out, we can check their feet, all while a cow, and again, these cows, some of them are 1,500 pounds. They're confined, they're safe, we're safe, we can do it all right. And then there's also, we made a door. You can spend as much time as you want, but small door, this locks to the back, and then you can access the back end of a cow. But this whole system works very well. Go ahead.
So do the cows, does it worry them to be in a close confinement? Why would you make it so tight? I know you said they're big and it keeps them from moving around, but would it get them upset to be in that area?
No. So again, it's you're building trust with your animals, right? So we treat our animals with respect and calmness. They've never been hurt in this chute. We don't, so they have a trust in us. So putting them through, cows also like to go back where they came from. So we kind of built it as a horseshoe. Ours is not ideal, but again, at Temple Grandin and trying to build a system, cows want to go to where they came from. They want to head to an area where it's good light. As they go down this chute, they're facing straight ahead, which is just a pasture. So it's nothing that's going to scare them going that direction. So do they like being in the chute? No. But again, they will go through, we'll get them in there, and then we just literally open the front door. When we're done with them, we prop this all the way open, and the cow just walks out, and then we can, again, this closes behind them, and then we open it up for the next cow, and then you can operate the front and close this in. So they don't, yeah, and it squeezes it right. And the sides are, I won't mess with it, but you can lift this up, and for a calf, I can make this even smaller for a calf to go in there if I want to put a small calf in there. So again, these are all things to make it safe for the animal and safe for the operator. And that's why we do it. We're not young anymore.
How do I know how much a cow weighs? Are you able to figure that out by looking at them, or?
Yes, well, yes and no. So larger farms, you can buy a scale, and literally it's like your bathroom scale, and it goes usually with a system like this, and the cow will stand on it, you'll reset it, and you can read their weight. There's another system, I just forgot to bring that prop, is a tape. It looks like an old-fashioned soft tape measure, and you wrap it right behind, you put them in the chute, you wrap it right behind their front legs, and it gives you a good idea of how much they weigh. We kind of guess ourselves because over time you kind of learn, what they weigh. Like a baby calf usually is more about 70 pounds, somewhere in that area. When we send them to market, they're up to about 1,200 pounds. So if we look over here, if you want to play guess the weight, tell me to stop now. But
yeah, we're going to go ahead, and for those classrooms that are participating, I know Peter mentioned that adult cows are about 1,800 pounds. We're going to talk about, we want you to guess the weight of a heifer. And can you mention, or can you just tell our participants what a heifer is so they have an idea? And then in your classroom, write down on a piece of paper, get a classroom tally, and guess what the weight of a heifer is.
So the Catherine was showing the two closest to Catherine with the camera are heifers. The three in the back are cows. So a cow it's had a baby, right? So a cow is a mom that has had a baby in its life. A heifer is a young female that has never had a calf. So they are a heifer until they have their first calf, and then they become a cow. Then you have a bull, which is a male cow. And then the last thing you'll hear often is a steer. steer is a male that's been castrated early on, and that usually is a market animal. So our heifers, these two right here, they will be bred in the next couple months, and then hopefully have a calf in about 9 months. So these two heifers you're looking at right here, you can guess their weight.
So a
So 90, yeah,
heifer,
90. Go ahead.
a heifer is around a 1-year-old cow that has not had a baby yet. So if any of our classrooms out there want to take a guess, how much do you think that heifer might weigh? And you can put it in chat. As they're doing that, Peter, can you discuss how do you give them vaccines and antibiotics? When they're sick, we get a flu shot. Do we give animals flu shots also? And how do they're out in the wild? How do we keep all the critters that they might get from the grass? How do we keep those from taking over their bodies? And we do have a guest from St. John's School, and they said 1,100 pounds. What do you think, Peter? Are we close? And I think we have Peter on mute.
Checking. Am I back again?
Yes, sir. So
Okay.
1,100 pounds was our guess. Are we
right.
close?
So the one, yeah, I think it's probably a little less than that. Our estimate is probably closer to about 900 to 1,000. But yes, you're in the ballpark. The one right here, the Catherine's looking at that just moved, she's probably 1,100, 1,200 pounds. The one behind is probably closer to 900 pounds. So yes, that's an excellent guess. One of those things we would love to do is get a scale. It's just that, again, we run it as a business, and so that's on our to-do list of things we would like to have.
So when you're talking about math class, great ballpark guess out there. So your estimations, you're seeing in the field, and our farmers are using estimates all the time.
Yes.
So that's a skill that you work on quite often, K through 12. So let's go back to talking about vaccines and flu shots. And do they get those things? I know it's flu season for us, and many of us are going out and getting flu shots. What about your cows?
So we don't do flu shots. We do vaccines. So every year in February is our timeline for a vaccine. She loves her back itched. We do vaccines. So we will do shots. So it's like going to the doctor. We put them through the chute, again, for safe handling. And we've been through BQA, Beef Quality Assurance training for both of us, and we keep our certification up. We give all the shots right. It's a neck area, right behind the ear, basically up to the shoulder. There's a triangle right there. We give all the shots in that area. So annually, they will get a vaccine. The vaccine covers many things. We can also give a dewormer if they get internal parasites. We've not had a lot of problems with that here, so we haven't had that. But every February, our vet comes, does a health assessment, and we'll give the appropriate vaccine at that time. The young cattle, if the first time they're getting it, they'll get a booster shot. Same with us when we get, if you get if you've had your shot series for school, sometimes you have 3 shots in a series. The older cows get an annual shot. The young cows get an annual plus a booster, and we'll do that. But again, everything is handled usually in the chute. In fact, it is handled in the chute because they really don't want you to walk up to them and give you a shot in the field. They are not going to let us do that. Their health overall is, again, we've been very fortunate. If we do have a problem, we can use antibiotics. We don't normally use antibiotics. I think we've used it once in 5 years. We had a little outbreak of a strange rash, but that was taken care of. So our cattle are antibiotic free, but we would use antibiotics if we had to. Antibiotics are not bad. Overuse is bad, but as you would for your child or your human or yourself, if you get sick, you go to the doctor, take the appropriate medicine, and you go from there. But with cattle, we know also when we give a shot of an antibiotic, there's a standoff, or I forgot the term, residual and withdrawal period. Thank you very much. So if we give a shot to a cow, my brother takes care, we annotate that, and we follow the directions, either from the vet or we'll read it, and it may be 45 days, it may be 6 months, it may be 6 weeks. And what that means is you cannot process that animal for beef until that residual has gone away. And what that really means is the animal has taken the antibiotic, it's processed through the body, it's no longer present. our cows go to market, we use a USDA certified butcher. We'll haul the cows up there, and again, a very calm, quiet manner. We have our own livestock trailer. They're handled up there. There's a USDA vet inspector on site. He inspects the animals before they are processed. Once they're processed, he'll check the carcasses. At the same token, he is checking the facility to make sure it meets all requirements, because once they go through that either a packing plan or a local butcher here, the butcher we use outside of Rochester, he supplies some local butcher shops that sell the meat. He also processes for us. He processes for a lot of other farmers and for restaurants. So everything he does is USDA certified, and it's verified at what happens. Part of it is our ear tags and everything else we use. The white ones are actually state certified ear tags, so they can track that animal to our farm exactly. The yellow tags are just our local ones, but the white ones have a number on it that identifies it as Laning Farms and our address. So when it goes to the butcher and the USDA inspector checks it, if there's ever a problem, they can check that animal and that quarter or half or whatever side of beef back to the original farmer. And they will do random samples on the beef, and they are looking for residue or any other compounds that should not be in beef. If they find it, that meat is not processed, and the farmer gets in trouble. If you do it too many times, or if it happens, there's some serious consequences to the farmer. We've never been in that boat, and I never want to be in that. But our job is to produce beef in a safe, humane manner and make sure it's available to the public. So we take pride in our animals. We follow the rules because we want to do the right thing, because our family eats the beef too. So we're doing this for us and for our customers to make sure that happens.
So from what you said, it sounds like there's a lot of care taken with this commodity or product, because it's entering into our food systems, and that they're very careful about what might be in that product when we eat it as consumers.
100% agree. Yes. As any farmer or any producer, you take pride in what you produce, whether it's your manufacturing, you take pride in what your widget you're building. We take pride in the beef and the cattle we're producing, and we want the best possible product to go out. Our biggest thing is, we're very proud. We have a set of customers that buy our beef and they come back. And like I said, we eat our own beef, so we want the best for ourselves, our families, and for our customers. It only behooves us and any farmer or any producer to do the right thing, because your name is on it, and if you want repeat business or to stay in business, you have to do that. And so yes, a lot of care is taken. We follow the rules, and we just take good care of our animals. That's really the key element right there.
So as we're wrapping up, we want to open up an opportunity for any of the classrooms out there to ask Peter and John any questions that they might have. If you want to pop on and open up your camera, you're more than happy to ask directly to the camera, or if you want to put those questions in chat, please feel free to put those questions in chat. I do want to mention that Dr. Temple Grandin, that was mentioned earlier, who developed the chute system that many of the beef farmers use today, as well as dairy farmers. She does have a children's book. Her children's book is titled "The Girl Who Thought in Pictures: The Story of Dr. Temple Grandin." She is somebody who is on the autism spectrum, and she had a very unique way of looking at things and understanding processes. And so her autobiography is about her experience as a young lady and growing up, and who she is and what she does. So again, that is A Girl Who Thought in Pictures by Dr. Temple Grandin. So is there any other questions out there? While we're waiting on those questions, do you have any other animals on your farm? Do you just do beef cows?
So on Laning Farms, technically we just do beef cows, and we do firewood as our sideline in the winter. My brother's farm, I don't know, he has some alpacas here. John has chickens, are the other things he does. And so they also have a huge, there's some alpacas over there in the corner. She can get them. And then John also and his wife have a massive vegetable and flower business. And she grows a very nice organic garden with a roadside stand. But I want to say John's wife's claim to fame is her flowers. She does amazing bouquets that she grows all in her garden and does weddings and that type of stuff. So Yeah, it's kind of a lifestyle, I guess, when you're if you need to have land to have animals, and so you usually have other things going with it. But at my farm, we just have Laying Farm just has cattle. That's enough for us right now. We had sheep growing up and stuff like that, but I'm quite happy with just one uh, one animal on the farm right now. So
And anything that you could, any wisdom or any words of advice that you could leave with our students, both you're both veterans as
yeah,
well as farmers. So is there anything that you would like to say to our young people and teachers and educators and students out there?
yeah. Well, I mean, a plug for the military. We both served over 20 years, and so did my wife. And actually, John's wife served 8 years. I, we love the military. I mean, we got to travel the world, see things, do things. We both have college degrees before we went in, um, but I just think it's a great lifestyle for anybody. Oh my gosh, I've lived in like 5 countries. Um, my brother's traveled the world with the Air Force. So I think being the military offers tremendous benefits, even if you do it for 2, 4, or a career. Um, and then we took that and we took our experiences there of leadership, management, operations, all the things you learn in a career in the military, and we kind of apply it to a small business. One, it makes us comfortable talking like this. Two, just kind of managing a business, doing that. Um, I'm fortunate. My wife actually retired. She works full time for the VA, and so this allows me more time to do this kind of stuff and work part time. But military is a great career, and then raising cattle or any kind of farming. It's very satisfying on a personal level. You're not going to be a multimillionaire, I'll tell you that, raising beef cows or a vegetable farm, but it's very satisfying. Our farm is self-sufficient. It covers all its own costs, and it's up and running, um, and we enjoy it. We would not be doing this if we didn't enjoy what we did. Days like this are wonderful. We have pictures of us bundled up when it's negative 10 degrees feeding cows, and you kind of wonder why you're doing it. But in the end, it's a worthwhile venture that is very rewarding on a personal level.
So one final question before we let y'all get back to your day on the farm. How do you like your beef?
We love our beef. We can tell a difference. So we'll buy. Not that any beef is bad. I love all beef, but I think ours has a unique flavor that we have really enjoyed, um, and so it's beneficial to us. And so we enjoy it, and we take great pride in what we produce.
And if you could have one beef dish, what would it be?
We love sirloin steaks. It sounds crazy, but a good sirloin steak to me is just. I used to love ribeyes, and I still love ribeyes, but I would tell you a good sirloin steak now is my favorite on a grill, and that's my favorite cut. So by far,
And how
and I
about
really
John?
appreciate it. He's probably the same. Are you sirloin? Sirloin. Yeah. In fact, we're in today's technology world. We'll take a picture of our grill and send it to the other person. We're like, save me a piece for tomorrow, and then we'll do that. So yeah, a grilled sirloin is still both of our favorites.
Well, we have one last comment from our class in St. John's, and they wanted to thank you for your service, both of you and your wives. They have several students who are interested in the military. The teacher's husband is in the Air Force and is part-time hobby farmer. The virtual trip was awesome, very informative, and inspirational. So they want to say thank you. So on behalf of the New York Beef Council and New York Agriculture in the Classroom, my name is Jeremiah Best. Sarah Peavy, thank you for the technology. Catherine Stager on our film On the Ground, and the Lenning brothers, thank you very much for having us on your farm, and thank you for all you've done for us and what you're continuing to do for us.
Thank you very much for being with us.